We haven't seen purchase applications this bad since 1996, 27-year low for purchase applications. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another brief, another week with your one and only Kenny Simpson. And this is the brief. Boy, every week, can we just get a week of peace, grace? It's just drama. I guess there's too much going on, too many people, the world's too big. We just can't get a week of peace, right? But we got to get into it, guys. This week, actually, I wanted to look at the nationally, how are we looking on inventory? So as I talk here, a chart's going to pop up, but 509, 156 active listings. New listings is a chart that we're popping up is 50,212, which is just terrible. Honestly, it's super, super low. It's not good. We keep having the same story, the same conversation. I wanted to show you nationally just how far off. And when you look at that chart, it's crazy, right? The chart, you can clearly see like it is like new listings, the lowest of the low. It's terrible. We know it. You've heard it. San Diego, how are we doing? We're at 2785 last week. Active listings, we're at 2758. Pretty much the same. New 428. Recently sold 294, 388 pending. We're close. You know, we just got off the peak of active listings, so it's just going to get worse and worse from here because as we usually go into the wintertime, do you want to move during Christmas and Thanksgiving during the holidays? Nope, neither does anybody else. That's why the renter traffic, the buyer traffic, all the traffic's down unless, you know, you're in retail sales. That's where things boom, or maybe the restaurant business, stuff like that. But real estate typically slows down in the fourth quarter going to Christmas, the holidays, because nobody really wants to move. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to deal with that crap. It's really a pain in the butt. But typically we see sales go down, listings go down. And I guess we're going to go down from here. It's going to get worse. I mean, it is going to be very interesting. With interest rates this high, inventory going low, where we're going to be sitting this holiday or going into 2024 of next year. Hold on to your seats and your hats, whatever you got. With high rates, the demand for housing for buyers, they just don't want to do it. And you know, it's really, really hard because in our position, you're a loan officer, you're a realtor, and even if you're a buyer and you're watching this, or you're somebody that owns real estate that might want to just go buy another house, people are stuck in both ways. Number one, obviously you're trapped because you have that low interest rate, you got a lot of equity you bought for, the housing went up, and you got that great low payment, which the payment really matters. It's really hard to give that up. But on the other hand, is these other buyers now feel trapped because the rates are so high and they don't know what to do because it's really unaffordable. It really doesn't make sense. It's not like the home prices have, crashed or scaled back because there's no inventory. Trust me, if there's a lot of inventory right now, we'd be probably further along than we are now. And I would think we'd already maybe hitting a recession or something would change, because think about if housing was crashed, it would change the whole dynamic. The feds would have to be changing stuff. Maybe rates would be falling. I don't know. But we have no inventory, so that's keeping housing propped up. And will we ever get the inventory? Because obviously, like I said, the gold is actually in your payment. It's not the rate or the equity, because equity you don't touch till you sell. Your rate, who gives a shit what your rate is if you can't afford the payment? But your payment is when we buy a car, when we buy anything, that's what we care about. And that payment is all-time lows. And so people don't want to give that up, whether they're going to go buy another house and rent that out, or they're just going to stay there. That's why it's trapped. 42% of Americans on a new study own their house free and clear. Out of the 58% that have mortgages, there's such a big portion of you guys, depending on where you are in the country and population, all that, where you're trapped and you're not going to get that up. And so buyers are feeling the pain because they don't know, should I buy now? Should I wait? And it's tough, because if you buy now and inventory doesn't go up and rates go down, you're going to be looking like a genius. If you buy now, rates go down and we get a lot of inventory and then housing adjusts, you're going to be like, I should have waited. But that's the $1 million, the $1 trillion questions. What is going to happen in the future? Are we going to have a gnarly recession, big job loss, people freak out, flight to cash, start selling the property, but then those people have to go buy somewhere or rent somewhere, and the rent's expensive. So is it kind of like, hey, I'd rather keep my house, my fixed payment, and make it through this time where I get roommates, get family to live with me, whatever I got to do, but don't screw up this equity I have, don't screw up this payment, because this payment long term is the goal. Because if you sell the house and you go get cash quickly, and you got to go rent, and you got to pay all this rent to get back in the housing market. Like, even if the housing market, you're probably not going to see those rates. You probably wouldn't get that far down in value if we did see a correction. is it worth it? And also keep in mind, there's so many buyers coming at the market, it can handle a lot more inventory. So tough times, just very, very interesting, hard to make decisions for people. But yeah, the last time we seen this purchase applications this low was in 1996, 27-year low. So there's a chart that's popped up right here. You can see it. I mean, we almost done this like big loop here where we were and where we went. So you can kind of see how active the housing market been, how people have been ready to buy. It's been a good time to buy. Is it a good time to buy now? I mean, look, if we don't get the inventory rate drop, absolutely, because values are going to go up. But it's really what you believe in. And most people don't study data. They listen to a loan officer, a realtor, their local news, what the economists are saying, what's on TV. They don't study data. They don't look at data. They don't see what's going on out there with the consumer, with inflation, with rates, the whole market and all that stuff. They don't look. And honestly, like, who wants to look? It's boring and they don't even know where to look. So it's your decision, but those are your two options. It's like you have to believe there's a massive recession coming and a massive job loss to probably create that flight to cash, and a lot of people panic selling. So, and that would have to be a lot of people. But one of the big topics that's going on out there that's always seemed to have been going viral, comes in and out, is this short-term rental debate. I'm not here to get in the debate. I'm not here to sit here and say it's good or bad. We have short-term rentals here in San Diego, but what I will tell you that is very clear, it's very obvious, is that a lot of people bought short-term rentals during the pandemic. They got all types of debt. Some people I hear, they're crushing it. They're doing really well. Some people I hear, their bookings are down or their price per night is down. Then the other thing is that what you don't know and I don't know is people bought in these locations and they've changed the laws, and it's just choking them and it's crushing them. So you have to kind of use your brain and logically think, like here in San Diego, it took forever to change the laws and they finally got it, and it was not as bad as they thought. But there's places like Palm Springs, Palm Desert. If you know that area, there's lots of different, there's Rancho Mirage, there's Indio, there's all these different places. Well, Rancho Mirage, a lot of vacation rentals, and they got rid of it. You know, the Palm Springs is talking about maybe tightening it more, making it harder because they're getting a lot of pushback. And the pushback comes from the neighbors that don't like it, people in the community, or the hotels, the lobbyists, whatever. So you're getting that pushback. So New York is going through a huge change. And this is what happens is they get so much pushback, so much fed up, so much nonsense, is that they put their foot down and make, regulations and laws. So if you're in an area where there's no regulation, no laws, like, oh, it's always going to be the Wild Wild West, that's what you think until it's not. So my thing is, if I'm going to go invest in a VRBO in a place, I just want the law set. I want to know what I'm getting into. I don't want to play this what if game, the Wild Wild West, because eventually it could happen. Even though you think like never, it can, and it probably will. Just like rent control they're trying to pass. If you don't even know nationally, it probably will. We're here in San Diego, so we're way far ahead of you guys. So if it gets passed nationally, jump on the bandwagon here with us. But they're talking about it too, because you can't have rent go up this much in locations. It's unaffordable and it's killing people. So just as a short-term rental market, there is places like Joshua Tree and things like that. I'm not saying it's a problem, but they went from like 1,900 short-term rentals, I think, to over 4,000, 5,000. That's a huge spike. Is there going to be the demand to meet that? If the consumer starts slowing down, people start spending less, start traveling less, they're going to get pickier where they go. So look, you don't know where things are going to go. Well, watch it, but also keep in mind that a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, a lot of things did not get passed during the pandemic, because why would they do it? They're so focused on other things. Now that we're getting past the pandemic, life back to more reality, you're coming up to election year, what's on the ballot, what's on the ticket, what's on the docket, what do people want? As you get farther away from that pandemic, that lockdown, it's people are seeing how's it's ruined cities or not, and that's why you're seeing maybe laws change and people come out. So we will probably continue to see regulation come down the pipe, just as we'll see rent control come down nationally. If you guys haven't heard that, just look it up. It's there. It's being talked about. If you ever go to any of these big multifamily conferences, they talk about it. But here, like I said, in San Diego, California, we're used to it and we're putting up with it and we're dealing with it. So another thing I was looking at, I was wondering, is the first-time home buyer, what are they typically putting down? Because as we all know, a lot of people think that never bought a home, they think they got to put 20% down, which is not the case. The average first-time home buyer, according to the site ATTOM, which has a lot of data, they're saying 7.5% is the average down payment for first-time home buyers, which is not unrealistic. It seems pretty normal. I've heard other numbers around 10%, 13%, so that's it. But 40% of buyers, which is more interesting, they're feeling the pain, they're feeling the anxiety, they're feeling like they don't have enough savings, they're not in the right place to meet that down payment to buy that property, so that's holding them back. And that's why a lot of the 40% first-time home buyers are going to get money from family. They're living with their parents longer to save up that money, right? They're tapping into the 401k. They're looking for first-time home buyer programs that allow grants and stuff, and those can be a little bit tricky when you want to go refi, so you got to look more into those. But also is they're just living with their parents longer, they're bunking up with roommates, so they're just savings. And then the first-time home buyers, 18% of those are going to buy something with an unmarried person or partner, just unmarried. They're going to buy because they're tired of renting and the rent going up, and they can't change the wall color, and they can't do landscaping outside, or it's not their home. They're not want to put a lot of time into it. So people are tired of renting. They want a place to call home, and especially if you're going to get married, where your kids are, all this. So home ownership is always a big deal because of interest rates, because prices are so high, it's becoming affordable. And also, not only do you need money for the down payment, but you also need money for closing costs, especially in an environment where it's more of a seller's market, where they're not even having to give you back credits towards closing costs, things like that. They're just kind of like, you're lucky if we accept your offer. And as rates go down, if inventories go up, that's just going to get harder and harder for buyers to get concessions towards the rate or closing costs. But last but not least this week is our good old Fed, Jerome Powell. The data's coming in better. Rates are still going up. It's just a confusing time out there. It really, how else are we going to put it? Where are you going to turn to? Everybody's confused. Interest rates are high. Inflation seems like it's coming down. They don't really know what the Fed's looking at. Is it their gut? Is it really data they're looking at? But, coming up this week, we got CPI, which is big. We got PPI. Then next week, we're going to have a bunch of housing data, home starts, home builder confidence. Then we have the Fed talking. Then we're going to have the Fed meet if they're going to, hike rates, which they're probably not. They're probably going to sit it out this time, but they are going to remain hawkish and say, hey, maybe in the future, because CPI is supposed to come in a little bit higher, I guess, because of gas and energy and things like that. So a lot of confusion out there, and I wish I could give you more. I wish I could give you more answer, but nobody has the answer. What are you gonna do? So I had a piece come out Monday about, I believe it's the one where I should get this right? I write so many blogs now, but where I thought rates are gonna go. And look, I was just trying to give you guys something. I was trying to I might be completely wrong. I might be somewhat right. I'm just trying to give you a consensus of where I'm getting this from. So it's a longer read, a lot of information, a lot of data, but where I think rates are gonna go, where they're not gonna go. And I think they're definitely gonna go lower next year, hopefully in the 5s. But you got to remember, if they go in the 5s, that will help a lot of people, but it's also probably not going to help a lot of people, because if you're a buyer and there's no inventory, you're stuck. So, the doom and gloomers are really looking for a bad recession, a job loss recession, and consumer pain where they're going to have to go get the cash or flight to cash and fire sell their house. But what a lot of those people aren't talking about is, look, these consumers have one thing. They have a locked in low rate and a great payment, but they also have equity. If you have a job, you're listening to this, and you might lose it or have a business that slows down, that's why you can get a line of credit, an equity line, where I call it the oh shit fund. Like something happens, something goes bad, where you can tap into it. Not that you're trying to get into more debt, but if you have that money that you can make it through to get the next job or survive, yes, the interest rate's higher, but you still have that low fixed rate. You could just fire or sell your house, but then you're back to renting. And if you're ever going to come back in the market, you're dealing with much higher rates, probably much higher purchase price, even if we have some type of housing correction, because prices went up so much. And a lot of you guys bought way before 2019, 17, like way before. And you've got tons of equity, low rate, low payment, and you're sitting pretty. So that's something that you don't want to give up. That is gold. It's like grandma's jewelry, your mom's jewelry. It's that magical piece and that payment, and that you're just not going to give it up. So you'll do everything. You'll go get roommates, you'll go drive Uber, you'll do side hustles, whatever it is you have to do to not give that up. And why would you? Because that's a fixed rate besides your taxes and insurance that you can have forever. And if you ever move out and rent the property, it's cash flow that you can have. So a lot of people are very tied to that. They're very well aware of what they have, and they're not going to be so easily to give that up. So we have to remember. So it'll be very interesting to see how the data changes. Will there be more inventory? And look, if we see the consumer really struggling, we'll probably see a tick up in inventory because they're feeling the pain. They need to go and get that money. So we will see what happens. After this week, a lot of data come out. We'll see what's going on with inflation, see what the Fed does, see what the 10-year Treasury does. Rates are just kind of staying what they are. They stink. But what are we going to do? So appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Until next week, be good. Enjoy the end of summer. All looks like it's coming around. Boo-hoo. I like my summertime. I know a lot of you guys pull off the sweaters. You love fall. I love summer. I wanted to say summer here forever in San Diego, but it's kind of like that anyways. Until next week, we'll keep watching the data for you. Thanks for checking me out. Talk to you guys soon. Oh, by the way, if you need anything, hit me up.